Hey guys, so a question I get asked all the time at the moment is what role should I be playing to climb in Season 8? And that's really difficult to answer. It depends on the person. But what we can do is take a look at the quickest champions to climb with in early Season 8. I took a look at the top 50 spots in the ladder in Europe, North America, and Korea. So all three servers had a look at their main role and the champions that they used to climb there so far. That will give us a really good idea of what champions and roles are good for climbing and carrying games right now. So to do this, I took a maximum of 3 champions per person. Most of them only really played 2 champions most of the time anyway, actually. Out of those top 50, in Europe, 11 of those were top laners, 12 of them were junglers, 13 of them were mid laners, 8 were AD carries, and 6 of them were support mains. In North America, that was a bit different. We had 10 top laners, 18 jungle mains, 10 mid laners, 6 AD carries, and 6 supports. In Korea, again, it was different. 13 top laners, 9 junglers, 10 mid laners, 8 AD carries, and 10 support players. At the moment, on the ladder, AD carries and supports don't seem to be doing as well so far in Season 8. Even with Relic Shield overheal meta, it's actually not that good for climbing apparently. Solo laners and junglers, however, though, are pushing up and have a much bigger share of that top 50. Top lane mains especially are some of the highest spots actually. Junglers in North America seem to be way more dominant, it seems like, but the champion pools are a little bit different, which you're going to see in a second. Finally, in Korea, it's much more even, but support mains hold as many spots as mid laners and actually have a really high ladder place at the moment as well. We're going to go role by role for all 3 servers to look at these in case you want to skip to the role that you play. I'm going to put timestamps down below, but we'll start from the top lane and work our way down to support last. So in the top lane then, first of all in Europe, there is a lot of Camille right now, Gangplank, Jace, and Ornn. Vlad and Nasus are also doing well, along with a couple of extras, even some random ones like Urgot and Akali. In North America, Akali is the most mained top laner in the top 50, followed by the normal Gangplank, Ornn, and Camille, so a little bit different. Way more variety as well within North America, and a lot of these are one-trick players as well. They only really play one champion. Korea is more about abusing the meta, solo carry type of top laners at the moment. Camille and Gangplank are dominant by a mile though. Jax has seen a fair amount. Vladimir is often played mid lane, by the way, so you can't really play him top lane at the moment anyway, and a few more random things, but the focus is on carry laners though. So looking at top lane as a whole from the 3 of these, Camille and Gangplank are clearly the best climbing top laners when you look at every region. Both are a bit more tricky to kind of get to grips with, but they are so rewarding. Korea especially loves solo carry champions. These 2 are about as solo carry as you can get in the current game. North America really doesn't want to seem to follow the meta as much. Akali is the biggest one, right? Part of this is Blade is ranked 1 at the moment, and he crushed on Akali so far this season. There are a few others though, and all of them are doing pretty well so far. Quicker games though would definitely suit that style of play, right? You have to remember as well that we have a lot of chaos style games and a lot of fighting, which Akali is great in. The top laners here that are climbing the best are the ones that impact mid game really. Like Camille roams a ton with their ultimate, right? Gangplank sends his ultimate into other lanes. Even Akali just runs around and kills people before we get to late game, but they are all carry picks. They are really good at carrying the game themselves. Moving down into the jungle, this has the most variety in picks of any role right now across all of the regions. It's not just one of them, they all have a lot of different picks. In Europe to start with, we have a ton of Nidalee played here, the most popular jungler, but if you look, they are almost all carry picks. Apart from a few of these, most of these are damage and killing stuff. Keep in mind as well, Evelynn is banned a ton right now, or she'll be showing up way more on all of these regions. North America is the region of junglers in early season, and this time way more variety. Have a lot of carry stuff though, Nidalee, Kha'Zix, Jarvan, Rek'Sai for example, but also a lot more tanks like Sejuani, Rammus, and Zac. No matter what you're picking, there seems to be a very heavy focus on either killing things or engaging for your team. Korea is more varied again, but definitely more about carrying the game and snowballing. All of the top picks here are more damage focused and they want to carry it themselves, except kind of Sejuani, but not really. She does that anyway. Nidalee is obviously crazy strong at the moment. We can see that. High skill cap, but once you learn her, she is carrying a lot of games, and her win rates in all of these regions are really, really high. Kha'Zix shows up a fair amount, but he is played by most junglers here actually, just not as one of their main 2. He is the go-to carry pick for most, even if he doesn't show up right now on the screen. We're definitely seeing more damage, so you can actually carry yourself rather than relying on your team. That seems to be the early season motto for junglers. Sejuani though is a little bit different. She does damage, but she also just doesn't really die. The key thing though out of the other tanks is she can actually fight other junglers and still gank a lot. That is the thing if you have a look at these. There are a lot of gankers here and a lot of damage assassins as well. In Korea, it's a little bit different. Nidalee isn't played as much, but we have other damage picks like Camille and Rengar. Camille really is like Korea's flavor of the month right now. They absolutely love her. I'm surprised though, we're actually seeing a lot more Skarner and Ivern in all of the regions though. It shows you that as far as junglers go, you don't have to play as meta as other roles to really climb. We're going to mention this again. Evelynn might not show up in this as much as she should, but that's because at higher ranks, most people permaban her, honestly. She is so strong damage-wise and just very annoying to play against as well. She is slippery, she's hard to focus, you can't see it obviously, so she bypasses your ward. She makes you play a lot differently, more passive, and kills you throughout the game now. So if we move into the mid lane, in Europe, a lot of people use the standard stuff here. Vlad, Cassio, Ryze, Malzahar, and Azir. These champions might not seem that standard. Like, a lot of people might not think they are that strong, or you don't see them much at lower ranks, but actually higher up, they are absolutely destroying. In North America, Ryze and Azir are very common, but so is Zoe now as well, actually. Not played as much as in the EU. I don't know if that's down to preference or ban rate, probably it's a bit of both. There are actually less champions picked here than other regions, which for mid laners is kind of uncommon. Normally we see a lot of variance with mid lane. In Korea, Zoe is the most popular here, and some of her win rates are stupidly high on people as well. Cassiopeia, Ryze, Malzahar are just behind her though, and with these three, even if they aren't like the most played, most mid laners here have had a few games played on them. Like Cassio, Ryze, and Malzahar are kind of staples. The first thing you'll notice is these are all quite oppressive in the lane phase, but then they also scale and they team fight well at the same time. It's not all or nothing. For early season, this is really good because if you're in a lane against someone who is weaker than you, they will really definitely feel it. You can really show who is actually a better player. Part of that is because they are quite like mechanically intensive as well, except for Malzahar, obviously, where you just press there's room to kind of show your skill, and so far that seems what the meta really is. Ryze, Azir, Cassiopeia, Malzahar, and Zoe, with a bit of Vladimir as well thrown in there. I'm kind of surprised that we aren't seeing more like Katarina or Kassadin, but these just aren't played as much as the others. Kassadin, for example, especially, was normally 3rd or 4th most played in all of these mid laners. That means he doesn't quite fit into this video, but he still is really popular and really strong. And yes, by the way, actually, you are seeing that correctly. Somebody really has played Mordekaiser as their 2nd most played mid laner in Korea and has like a 65% win rate with it as well. So time to move into the bot lane. 80 carries to start with. In Europe, it's mostly Tristana and Vayne. There were 8 80 carries in the top 50, and 6 of them had used Tristana to climb. That's pretty ridiculous. In North America, it's very similar, a split between Vayne and Tristana, and remember, there were only 6 80 carries for North America, so that's why there are a lot of less 80 carries than the other regions. Moving into Korea, we now see a massive difference where Tristana is only here once. Tristana is very safe, she scales, but Korean games are shorter and 80 carries want to have more impact early. That is why they opt for a lot of different things. For example, Ezreal in Korea is still very popular and still performs really well, even though over here we've kind of leaned more towards Relic Shield overheal meta and we don't see Ezreal as much anymore. Ezreal is pretty good in the lane phase actually if you want to fight, and has a really good mid game spike as well. If games are shorter, that's kind of ideal. Kalista is also here a ton more and used to crush lane with these engaged supports that we're having in Korea. Another reason why slower scaling AD carries like Tristana can't really get to late game. Kog'Maw is the only kind of scaling AD that works here, and a lot of people are using him, but this is mostly because after just one item, Rage Bait now, he can actually fight and do pretty well. So like, yes, he is a scaling AD carry, but if you can perform at one item, I don't really know if that class is a scaling anymore. For the West, the meta is definitely more towards safer play, sadly, unfortunately, with Tristana and Vayne and Relic Shield and stuff starting in the lane phase. Going over to Korea, where AD carries want to do more, there is more Ezreal, Kalista, Kog'Maw to actually carry games. Even Varus shows up here, right? Admittedly, I think both Varus players were professional players. Varus is actually quite hard to play at higher ranks, but similar to Kog'Maw and his ultimate to engage more fights as well. He's really good auto base. I think a good way to sum this up basically is, even though we think we have to play Relic Shield meta as AD carries right now, Korea is proving that we really don't, and we can fight a lot more, play for more mid game early season. It's not just AD carries though. Another part of that is actually to do with our support meta, and you'll see the difference now. In Europe, we definitely have a mix, but there's a more clear focus on protection rather than playmaking. So like Janna and Braum have some pressure, but not that much. In North America, it's a bit better. There's a lot more Alistar. Half the supports in here have used him to climb. It's pretty crazy, and more fighting in general as well. In Korea though, we have a big shift, not only to more fighting and frontline supports, but also way more supports in the top 50. I don't know if that's a direct correlation or just a coincidence, but if there are more support mains in the top 50 and they are playing very differently, that should probably be a good sign. There is no surprise though about Alistar being here, but Braum, 70% of supports have used Braum to climb their way up. That is pretty insane. Let's start with that actually. Braum is seen in every single region, but nowhere near as much as in Korea, and his win rates are really good there as well. He seems pretty busted. Braum works very well with Kog'Maw and Kalista, so we have to kind of remember that. Those are meta AD carries that are played in Korea, but not really in Europe and North America. He is also very good versus Ezreal, locking him down, blocking his entire ultimate, so that could be another reason why Braum seems so good. Whichever way you do look at that though, the fact that Braum, Alistar, Tahm, Kench, and Ornn are the most played there, and everyone is using playmaking support says a lot. The Janna actually in this thing was somebody's second choice. They really want to roam a lot more, get Moby boots, impact other lanes, fight, and snowball the map. Really engage fights. They are a lot more aggressive in lane and outside of it, and that is partly why games can be so much faster, I think. Supports actually have a big impact in Season 8. You'll also notice that these supports are frontline instead of backline. They basically dive in, they harass the enemy AD carry and try to fight them a lot more, whereas in Europe and North America, we're playing more backline stuff. I think that is probably a good way of looking at support if you're trying to climb though this season. Like, play things that can make plays and take control of the game more and fight more. So that wraps up the different roles that we've had so far in early Season 8. It is only early season, so it's nothing to get too excited about, but it does give you a good idea of what people are playing and what is working really well. Thank you for watching the video until the very end. Like the video if you do, but for now, I'll leave you with robots.